In August of 2012, my life changed drastically. I lost one of the rocks of my life, the light of my world, my best friend, my everything. I lost my mother unexpectedly to breast cancer. There is not a day that goes by that I don't think about her, that I don't miss her, that I don't wish she was still here and wished things were different and that they had gone differently, because she passed away before she could ever even tell me that she had breast cancer. And it was completely unexpected. And in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I thought it would be appropriate to tell my story, and hopefully I can help someone. I can raise awareness and help someone who's going through the stages of grief after losing a parent, a loved one, someone close to them, especially to this disease. Let's get into the video. Back in 2011, I had what I would call a nightmare. I went to sleep and had a dream that my father and my sister ran into the room and told me that my mother had just died. I was hysterical, I was confused, I didn't understand what was going on. No one explained how she died. It was just, your mother's gone. And of course, after I wake up from this dream, I am still hysterical and in fear, and it just felt so real. I remember praying and hoping, man, I pray that never happens. I mean, who wants to lose a parent? But I was especially fearful because, like many people, a lot of my dreams come true. So you never know if this is a dream that's going to happen or one that won't. So I just tried to pray about it and forget it. A few months later, it was the end of my sophomore year, and I had begged my parents to let me get my first car and to also let me move off campus into my own apartment. And I did some begging, but finally they allowed me to do it. I was excited because I was also going to be doing a summer internship, so it was going to be the first summer that I wasn't spending at home. I was going to be able to stay at my university and establish more of my independence. I remember my mother was not happy about this, but she was supportive. She made this very apparent because if I ever missed a phone call, she was going to blow me up, call everyone around me, and when we got on the phone, she would be crying, sad, why didn't you answer, what's going on, I didn't know where you were. And I'm just like, Mom, I'm fine, I'm close to home still, so I'm good. So I was used to her calling all summer long, sounding very concerned, but there was one particular day where the concern sounded different. Her tone of voice was different, and I could tell something was going on. She had this level of despair in her voice. There was this level of hopelessness. And I remember asking, Mom, is everything okay? And she was like, yeah, what's going on? I'm just calling to check up on you. And I was like, are you sure? Something sounds different. I was like, something doesn't sound right. And she was like, no, I'm fine. So I said, okay, and I left it alone. At the end of the summer, I came home, and my sister, my mother, we were all in the kitchen, and she was noticeably wearing a wig. This not being a big deal, I noticed it and didn't say anything, but it wasn't typical for her. You know, she loved going to the beauty salon. She liked her hair in a particular way, and she had very long, beautiful hair, but she liked wearing extensions, never wigs. So I was like, okay, that's different. And she looked at me, she said, do you like my wig? And I was like, no, I don't like it. Now, we had this relationship, my siblings and I, with my mother, where she would always ask us how something looked on her, and we would always be honest. Of course, not brutally honest, but in a kind way, we would tell her like, oh, Mom, we don't like it. So that's what I was used to. So I was like, I don't like it. And she said, okay, it's whatever, I like it. And she walked out of the room. I remember my sister turning around, and she was like, why would you say that? Why would you talk to your mother that way? And I was like, what is the big deal? We're always honest with her. And she was like, yeah, but some things just don't need to be said. Like, that was very rude. And I mean, she was really upset. She just would not let it go. And I was like, this is not like my sister to act like this over something so like trivial from what I thought at the time. And I was like, clearly something happened for her to be behaving this way. So I thought, you know, she's in her late 40s. Maybe her hair is thinning. Maybe she's losing her hair. Maybe something happened at the beauty salon where she has to wear wigs now. I didn't know. And I remember asking, and she said, everything is fine. Just be careful about how you speak to our mother. I thought, okay. And from then on, throughout the next year or so, I would come home periodically and notice different changes with her body. She was noticeably losing weight. My mother had always been working on her health and fitness goals. She, like many of us, was always trying to lose weight. And I thought initially, okay, Mom, all right, I see you. You're looking good. And she, you know, joked around too. Yeah, I'm losing weight. And I thought, okay, but then I would come home and notice different things. Like she would have dark circles around her eyes. She was losing her eyebrows to the point where they were practically gone. She just looked different. And I remember just feeling concerned, but not wanting to push the issue. I would ask, is everything okay? And she would always assure me that everything was fine. And there was one particular day where we were watching television in the living room. I had come home for the weekend, and I noticed that one side of her chest was flat. I mean, completely flat. She had breasts on this side, but this side was flat. And I thought, that's unusual. But me as her male son, I didn't want to ask, but something didn't seem right with that. And I tried to ignore it, but it was so obvious. And I think she caught me looking and then just kind of left the room. So I thought, okay, this is not looking good. I would continue to come home and notice different changes. She was also very adamant about getting the family together during holidays. Our extended family, her siblings and our cousins, making sure we were spending Thanksgiving with them and then Christmas. And I thought, something is going on. I don't quite know what it is, but something is definitely not right. Then she had started this thing where her hands were always weak. Her fingers had always hurt her or they felt weak. So she would always ask my siblings and I to massage her fingers, pull my fingers, massage them. And I'm massaging her fingers one day and I noticed this scar above her breast area. So I started to think, okay, dots are connecting, pieces of the puzzle are coming together. This looks like breast cancer. But I kept thinking, if this was breast cancer, they would tell me, right? So the thought kept crossing my mind, but I kept getting rid of it. Until one day, she was in the room laying down, and her and my sister, were having a disagreement about something, and it got really heated. My sister ended up storming out of the room, and she got up out of the bed, and she rushed to the restroom because she was so angry. I guess she just wanted to get somewhere. And she got up out of bed and rushed to the restroom. And she was slamming the door, but as she slammed the door, the wind from the door pushed her wig off. And I saw that she was bald. She had patches of hair. And I remember thinking, yeah, it's definitely breast cancer. I was in a state of shock, denial, confusion. This is clearly breast cancer. And I didn't know a whole lot about breast cancer, but my university had been raising a lot of awareness about it. So I had done a little bit of research, and I was just thinking, okay, that's not good. Clearly she's going through chemo. And I remember walking out of the room in tears, and I sat on the couch, and my father came and he was like, oh boy. And he was fussing at my mom. He was like, you see what you did? You see what you caused? Now you got Jonathan crying. And She came to me, she said, Jonathan, I am fine. Everything is okay. Don't be worried. Without even knowing what I was crying about, it was almost like she knew that I knew. And I just remember thinking, okay, clearly this is cancer, but if it's serious enough, if it's in stage 3 or 4, they will definitely tell me. If this was serious enough to the point of it being terminal, they will definitely tell me. So from then on, I reflected back on that day so many times, back on everything that I had been noticing, all the changes with her body, and thinking, God, I hope she's going to be okay. And that's when the dream came back to mind. So from there, it was just night after night, agony, fear, praying, God, please don't take my mom. I hope everything is okay. And wanting to ask if she was okay, but also realizing they don't want to tell me. Maybe they don't want to tell me because I'm in school. And I also knew my mother. She was the type of person, she would always tell us, give me my flowers when I'm alive. Don't sing praises about me when I'm gone. Give me my flowers when I am here to hear them. And she also didn't like people to look at her whenever she was sick. You know, when you're sick, people take pity on you. They look at you differently. They treat you differently. So I knew that she didn't want me to know. And I thought, maybe no one else knows aside from the people living in the house, which was my sister and my father. So I just continued to pray and hope and pray and hope. And it was very difficult because this went on for months. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to be more conscious about coming home more and spending time with her. But when I would do that, she was so tired and weak all the time. Just tired and weak all the time. And I kept thinking, this cannot be good. And every time I would come home to spend time with her, she really liked watching Lifetime movies. So I would sit down and watch these corny Lifetime films with her, but she would always fall asleep. It was almost like she was just too tired to acknowledge that I was there. And I started to withdraw from her because I'm like, I started to get irritated. Like, I know something is going on. I know you're not well. I know you have cancer. It's clear, but no one's telling me anything. How do I process this? How do I deal with this? Do I ask? Do I say something? Do I respect the fact that you don't want me to know? So I kept going through these internal battles around her, and I didn't want her to know that I knew. I didn't want to treat her any differently. So the only thing that I could do was just kind of stay away, which I reflect on that now, and I think it was a terrible decision. But it wasn't to the point where I didn't speak with her, but I just did not come around as much as I should have, even when I was in the same house. And there was one day when I desperately wanted to ask her, do you have breast cancer? Like, that thought was on my mind all the time. And the only thing that came out on the phone was, Mom, I'm coming home and you're not spending time with me. You're always falling asleep. You don't have any energy. Is everything okay? And she was like, Jonathan, I am fine. Your mother is keeping faith. Your mother is going through different things, but she is keeping faith that everything is going to be okay. And I remember thinking, okay, so that must mean this is going to pass, that she's getting treatment for this, and she is going to be okay. But it just didn't feel right. I kept this feeling of fear was just always on me all the time, and I couldn't shake it. And that was one of our last conversations. Like I said, it was always on my mind. It was always something that I was worried about. So I had finally said, you know what? I can't take it anymore. I'm going to ask if she has breast cancer. I need to know. Someone needs to tell me something. And on the week that I decided to come home during the weekend to ask, I received a phone call from my sister on a Thursday morning to come home. And I'm thinking, okay, this is what I was fearing. But why do you need me to come home? And she hung up. I'm calling back. My father answers. He said, Jonathan, you need to come home. So that was probably the longest car ride home, the longest ride ever. I mean, there were so many thoughts going through my mind. Is she alive? Did something happen? Did it get serious and now they want me to know and I need to come home so we can have this conversation? I didn't know what to think. So I probably sped like crazy going home. I remember getting home. There's no cars in the yard. And I'm thinking, okay, this is weird. I go in, no one's home. And I just sat there with anticipation, hoping for the best, but fearing the worst. And I just remember thinking, okay, this is either going to go two ways. They're going to tell me or she's gone. I remember trying to turn on the TV to just get my mind off things while I waited for them to come home. And Martin came on. And I just remember thinking, okay, is this God trying to calm me down? But I couldn't do it. I turned the TV off. And I remember hearing cars pull up. So I told myself, okay, I'm not going to look outside. I'm just going to listen for the doors shutting. I know that it's my sister, my father, and my mother. So I'm going to listen for 3 doors shutting. The car stopped, so I heard one door shut and then a second door shut. And I didn't hear a third. And I remember sitting there like, okay, all right. And my father walks in the door. My sister walks in behind him. And my mother is not there. And I remember my father didn't say anything. He just walked up to me and hugged me. And I knew. And I looked at my sister and I said, is it mommy? And she kind of nodded, and my worst fears came true. And suddenly I realized everything that happened in my dream a year prior was happening in reality. I never in a million years thought I would lose my mom. We were very close. I am the last born, the baby boy. Our birthdays are a day apart. I'm the 24th of January, she's the 25th. And I remember someone said one day, our mommy should last forever. No one ever thinks that they're gonna lose a parent. You know, we think our parents are gonna live forever. And, you know, a lot of people ask, do you resent your mom for not telling you? And the answer is, I don't. I knew how she was. I could never imagine being in her shoes of being dealt with this diagnosis and seeing your children and not wanting them to know that you could possibly be leaving this earth. I knew that was a major burden to carry, and I don't know what my life would have been like had I known. But I find solace in knowing that she's no longer suffering, she's no longer in pain, and she's in a better place. I miss her so much, but sometimes we're dealt with cards that we can't control.